The unexpected exchange student. The Galactic Academy of Sciences and Arts hung suspended in space, a gleaming marvel of alien engineering. Its crystalline spires and iridescent domes reflected the light of distant stars, a beacon of knowledge in the vastness of space. For millennia, it had been the pinnacle of education for the most brilliant minds across thousands of worlds. Today, however, was different. Today, the Academy was about to receive its first human student. Professor Xalax, a towering six-limbed Arcturian, paced nervously in the docking bay. His normally calm demeanor was betrayed by the rapid color changes rippling across his scaled skin. "This is unprecedented," he muttered to his colleague, Dr. Zara, a hovering, gelatinous Medusian. "A human. Here, their species has barely mastered interplanetary travel." Dr. Zara's tendrils waved in a gesture of agreement. "The Council's decision is perplexing. But we must adapt. Perhaps there is more to these humans than we realize." A sleek transport ship glided into the docking bay, its engines humming to a stop. The doors hissed open, and out stepped a young human girl, no more than 18 Earth years old. She wore a simple jumpsuit, her dark hair tied back in a ponytail, and her eyes wide with wonder as she took in her surroundings. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy," Professor Xalax said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "I am Professor Xalax, and this is Dr. Zara. We will be your primary liaisons during your stay." The girl smiled, a gesture that seemed to involve baring her teeth, causing both aliens to flinch slightly. "Thank you," she said, her voice clear through her own translator. "I'm Zara Chen. I can't tell you how honored I am to be here." As they led Zara through the winding corridors of the Academy, curious alien students of all shapes and sizes stopped to stare. Some whispered excitedly, while others regarded her with obvious disdain. "Is that the human? Look how fragile it seems. I heard they still use combustion engines. Primitive." Zara tried to ignore the comments, focusing instead on the breathtaking architecture and advanced technology surrounding her. Holographic displays flickered with equations beyond her comprehension, and in one room, she glimpsed students manipulating matter with thought alone. "This is incredible," she breathed, her eyes shining with excitement. Professor Xalax's colors shifted to a more relaxed blue. "I'm pleased you find it so. However, I must warn you, the curriculum here is extremely challenging. Many of our students have been genetically enhanced for intelligence or come from species with natural cognitive abilities far beyond that of humans." Zara nodded, her determination evident. "I understand, Professor. I may not have genetic enhancements, but humans have something else: adaptability and creativity. I'm here to learn, but also to show what humanity can offer to the galactic community." Dr. Zara's tendrils rippled in what might have been amusement. "A noble goal, young one, but be prepared for significant challenges ahead." As they approached Zara's quarters, a commotion erupted in a nearby corridor. A group of students were gathered around a malfunctioning gravity generator, which was causing objects, and some smaller aliens, to float uncontrollably. Without hesitation, Zara rushed over. "Can I help?" she asked, assessing the situation quickly. A tall, insectoid alien named Crix chittered in annoyance. "Unless you can recalibrate a quantum flux capacitor, human, I suggest you stay out of the way." Zara bit her lip, thinking fast. "I may not know how to fix your technology, but I have an idea." She quickly removed her belt and fashioned it into a lasso. With surprising accuracy, she threw it around the central column of the generator and pulled, using her weight to stabilize the machine. "Now," she shouted, "try resetting it." Crix, momentarily stunned by the human's quick thinking, did as suggested. The generator hummed back to life, and the floating objects gently returned to the ground. There was a moment of stunned silence before a smattering of appreciative clicks, whistles, and other alien sounds of approval filled the air. Professor Xalax's skin rippled with an impressed purple hue. "Well done, Zara," he said. "Perhaps there is more to human ingenuity than we anticipated." As they continued to Zara's quarters, the whispers that followed her had a distinctly different tone now. "Did you see how quickly she thought of that solution? I've never seen anyone use a personal item as a tool like that before. Maybe having a human here won't be so bad after all." Zara couldn't help but smile. It was a small victory, but an important one. She knew that the real challenges were yet to come, but for now she had taken her first step towards proving humanity's worth in this vast, advanced galactic society. As she settled into her quarters, a room that seemed to defy the laws of physics as she understood them, Zara looked out at the star-filled expanse beyond her window. The enormity of her situation hit her all at once. She was the first human to study at the Galactic Academy, a representative of her entire species. The responsibility was immense, but so was the opportunity. "I won't let them down," she whispered to herself, her determination stronger than ever. "I'll show them what humans can do." Little did Zara know that her arrival at the Galactic Academy would set in motion a chain of events that would change the course of galactic history, challenging long-held beliefs and opening up new possibilities for cooperation between species. Her journey was just beginning, and the greatest challenges and triumphs were yet to come. As the artificial day cycle of the Academy began to dim, simulating night, Zara lay in her bed, her mind racing with all she had seen and experienced. Tomorrow, her classes would begin, and with them, the true test of her abilities. But for now, she allowed herself a moment of pride. She had made it here, against all odds, and she had already begun to make an impression. With a smile on her face and determination in her heart, Zara drifted off to sleep, dreaming of the wonders and challenges that awaited her in this new, star-spanning chapter of her life. Challenging perceptions. The first rays of artificial sunlight filtered through Zara's window, rousing her from a fitful sleep. Her dreams had been a kaleidoscope of alien faces and incomprehensible technologies. As she rose, she couldn't shake the feeling that today would be pivotal in her journey at the Galactic Academy. Zara's first class was quantum astroengineering, taught by Professor Xelax. As she entered the vast lecture hall, she felt the weight of 100 alien gazes upon her. Some were curious, others skeptical, but all were waiting to see how the human would fare. Professor Xelax's scales shimmered as he began the lecture. "Today, we will discuss the principles of hyperdimensional folding in starship design." Holographic models sprang to life around the room, depicting complex engine schematics that made Zara's head spin. As the lecture progressed, Zara found herself struggling to keep up. The mathematical concepts were far beyond anything she had encountered on Earth. Her tablet, an advanced alien device, was filled with hastily scribbled notes and question marks. Beside her, Crix, the insectoid alien from yesterday, clicked his mandibles in what sounded like amusement. "Having trouble, human," he whispered. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable in a class on basic rocketry." Zara gritted her teeth but said nothing. She refused to let his taunts get to her. Instead, she focused harder, determined to understand. As the class neared its end, Professor Xelax posed a question to the students. Who can explain the paradox of Zeno's warp field and how it relates to the Alcubierre drive? The room fell silent. Even Crix seemed stumped. Zara's mind raced. She had read about the Alcubierre drive in her preparatory materials. It was theoretical on Earth, but clearly a reality here. And Zeno, that was a name from ancient Greek philosophy. Hesitantly, Zara raised her hand. Professor Xelax's eye stalks swiveled towards her in surprise. "Yes, Zara." "Well," she began, her voice shaky at first but growing stronger, "Zeno's paradox deals with the idea of infinite divisibility. In the context of a warp field, it might suggest that as a ship approaches light speed, the space ahead of it could be infinitely divided, making it impossible to ever reach its destination. But the Alcubierre drive doesn't move the ship through space. It moves space around the ship, so it bypasses the paradox entirely by changing the nature of the journey." The room was dead silent for a moment. Then Professor Xalax's scales rippled with an impressed blue hue. "That is surprisingly insightful, Sarah. You've made a connection that many overlook. Well done." Murmurs of astonishment rippled through the class. Crix's antennae twitched in what might have been annoyance or grudging respect. As the day progressed, Zara faced challenge after challenge. In xenobiology, she struggled to understand alien anatomies that defied her understanding of life itself. In advanced telekinesis, she sat frustrated, unable to so much as nudge a pebble while her classmates effortlessly lifted boulders with their minds. But in each class, Zara found ways to contribute. Her unique perspective as a human often led her to ask questions that her alien classmates had never considered. In xenobiology, her suggestion of exploring potential symbiotic relationships between different alien species sparked an intriguing class discussion. In telekinesis, unable to move objects herself, she instead proposed new applications for the ability in fields like medicine and construction. By the time evening fell, Zara was exhausted but oddly exhilarated. She faced her limitations head-on and found ways to turn them into strengths. As she made her way to the Academy's central atrium for dinner, she overheard snippets of conversation. "Did you hear about the human in Professor Xalax's class? I heard she came up with a unique solution in xenobiology. Maybe there's more to these humans than we thought." A smile tugged at Zara's lips. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As she entered the atrium, a hush fell over the room. Then, to her surprise, a tentacled Orlean student waved her over to their table. "Zara, right. Join us. We'd love to hear more about Earth." For the next hour, Zara found herself at the center of a fascinated group of alien students. She told them about Earth's diverse ecosystems, human history, and the rapid technological progress her species had made in just a few centuries. The aliens listened with rapt attention, their previous dismissiveness replaced by genuine curiosity. But not everyone was impressed. From across the atrium, Crix watched the scene with his compound eyes narrowed. The human was adapting faster than he had anticipated, and he didn't like it one bit. As Zara left the atrium, feeling more optimistic than she had since arriving, Crix approached her. "Don't get too comfortable, human," he chittered. "You may have impressed some with your quaint ideas, but you're still light years behind the rest of us. This academy has no place for primitive species playing catch-up." Zara stood her ground, meeting Crix's gaze steadily. "We'll see about that, Crix. Humanity has a long history of surpassing expectations. I'm just getting started." As Crix stormed off, Zara couldn't help but feel a twinge of worry. She had made progress today, but she had also made an enemy. And in this vast, advanced alien world, she couldn't afford to let her guard down. Back in her quarters, Zara reviewed the day's lessons, determined to push herself even harder tomorrow. As she worked, a notification popped up on her tablet. It was a message from Professor Xalax. "Zara, your performance today was noteworthy. While you struggled with some concepts, your unique perspective brought fresh insights to our discussions. Continue to cultivate this ability. It may prove to be humanity's greatest contribution to the galactic community. Keep up the good work." Zara smiled, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She was not just a student here. She was an ambassador for her entire species. And she was determined to show the galaxy exactly what humanity was capable of. As she drifted off to sleep, Zara's mind buzzed with ideas and possibilities. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also new opportunities to prove herself. In this vast, star-spanning academy, she was beginning to carve out a place for herself and for humanity. Little did she know that her greatest test was yet to come, a challenge that would push her to her limits and have far-reaching consequences for the entire galaxy. Certainly, here's a shorter part 3 of the story. Part 3. The Interstellar Crisis. Alarms blared through the Galactic Academy, jolting Zara from her studies. Red lights pulsed in the corridors as students of all species rushed past her room, their faces etched with worry. "What's happening?" Zara called out, catching the arm of a passing Orlean student. It's the Nexus core, the alien replied, its tendrils quivering. It's destabilizing. If it collapses, it could tear a hole in the fabric of space-time. Zara's heart raced. The Nexus core was the beating heart of the Academy, a hyper-advanced quantum computer that regulated everything from life support to the artificial gravity. Its collapse would be catastrophic. She sprinted to the central control room, where she found Professor Xalax, Dr. Zara, and a group of senior students huddled around holographic displays. "The harmonics are all wrong," Xalax muttered, his scales a sickly green. "We can't stabilize the quantum fluctuations." Zara pushed her way forward, studying the swirling data. The pattern seemed familiar somehow. "Wait," she said, her mind racing. "This looks like a chaotic system. On Earth, we use something called the butterfly effect to understand these." Crix, who was among the senior students, scoffed. "This is far beyond your primitive understanding, human." But Professor Xalax held up a hand. "Go on, Zara." As the team worked feverishly, the vibrations throughout the station intensified. Holographic displays flickered ominously, showing the Nexus core's instability increasing by the second. "We're running out of time," Dr. Zara announced, her normally melodious voice strained with tension. Zara's fingers flew across the adaptive interface, translating complex patterns into predictive models. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she pushed her mind to its limits, drawing on everything she'd learned about chaos theory and complex systems. "I think I see it," she muttered, her eyes never leaving the swirling data. "There's a pattern in the fluctuations. If we time it just right." Crix, the senior student who had initially dismissed her, now hovered nearby, his multiple eyes wide with a mix of awe and anxiety. "But how can we be sure? One miscalculation could tear the Academy apart." Professor Xalax's scales shifted to a deep blue, a sign of intense concentration. "We must trust in our combined knowledge." "Zara, what do you need?" "I need direct access to the quantum entanglement array," Zara said, her voice steadier than she felt. "And I need everyone to be ready to implement the changes the moment I give the signal." The room erupted into action. Dr. Zara's tendrils danced across control panels, granting Zara the access she needed. Other students and faculty members positioned themselves at key stations, poised to act. As Zara connected to the array, her mind reeled at the sheer complexity of the system. It was like nothing she had ever encountered on Earth. But beneath the alien technology, she could see the underlying patterns, the beautiful chaos that connected all things. "Now!" Zara shouted, her fingers initiating the carefully calculated disturbance. The room held its breath as the quantum entanglement array pulsed with energy. For a terrifying moment, nothing seemed to change. Then, slowly, the violent fluctuations in the Nexus core began to stabilize. "It's working," Professor Xalax breathed, his scales shifting to a hopeful yellow. Zara didn't dare look away from her console, making minute adjustments as the system rebalanced itself. "We're not out of the woods yet," she warned. "The next few minutes are crucial." The team worked in tense silence, each member playing their part in guiding the Nexus core back to stability. Gradually, the alarms quieted, and the violent shaking of the station subsided. Finally, after what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, Dr. Zara announced, "Core stability achieved. We did it." A cheer went up around the room. Alien appendages of all kinds patted Zara on the back, and even Crix gave her a respectful nod. Professor Xalax approached, his scales now a warm, proud orange. "Zara, your quick thinking and unique perspective saved us all today. You've proven that there's still much our species can learn from each other." As the adrenaline began to fade, Zara felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. But mixed with the fatigue was a profound sense of accomplishment and belonging. She had found her place among the stars, bridging the gap between humanity and the vast, incredible universe beyond. "Thank you, Professor," Zara said with a tired smile. "I'm just glad I could help, and I can't wait to learn more from all of you." As the crisis subsided and the cleanup began, Zara knew that this was just the beginning. The Galactic Academy, and the universe itself, held countless more mysteries to explore and challenges to overcome. And now, more than ever, she was ready to face them head-on, with her newfound alien friends by her side. In the days that followed the Nexus core crisis, life at the Galactic Academy slowly returned to normal, or at least as normal as life could be at an interstellar institute of higher learning. But for Zara, everything had changed. Word of her role in averting disaster spread quickly through the academy. Students from species she had never even heard of before sought her out, eager to learn about Earth's approach to chaos theory and complex systems. Zara found herself at the center of impromptu study groups, explaining concepts that she had once thought commonplace, but which offered new insights to her alien classmates. Professor Xalax, impressed by Zara's performance, invited her to join an advanced research team focused on integrating various species approaches to quantum mechanics. The project was cutting-edge, combining the logical precision of the Orleans, the intuitive leaps of the Zaxar, and now, the adaptive problem-solving of humans. One afternoon, as Zara was deep in discussion with a group of students in the Academy's central atrium, a commotion near the entrance caught her attention. A sleek silver ship had just docked, bearing markings she didn't recognize. "It's the Galactic Council," whispered Crix, who had become one of Zara's closest friends since the incident. "They rarely visit the Academy. Something big must be happening." As if on cue, Professor Xalax's voice echoed through the Academy's communications system. "All students and faculty, please report to the Grand Hall immediately. We have important guests and an announcement to make." Excitement and nervous energy rippled through the crowd as everyone made their way to the massive, domed chamber at the heart of the Academy. Zara found herself ushered to the front, alongside other key players from the Nexus core crisis. Once everyone was settled, a group of beings unlike any Zara had seen before glided into the room. They seemed to shimmer, their forms fluid and ever-changing, as if they existed partially in another dimension. Professor Xalax stepped forward, his scales a formal, deep purple. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, honored students and colleagues, we are gathered here today for a momentous occasion." The shimmering being at the center of the group spoke, its voice resonating not just in the air, but seemingly in Zara's very mind. "The recent events at your academy have not gone unnoticed. The innovative solution to the Nexus core crisis has demonstrated the untapped potential of intergalactic cooperation." Zara felt a mix of pride and nervousness as the being's gaze seemed to focus on her. In light of this, the council member continued, "We are initiating a new program. The Galactic Academy will serve as the testing ground for an unprecedented exchange of knowledge and methodologies across all known sentient species." A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. Furthermore, the being added, "We are extending an invitation to Earth to join the Galactic Alliance as a probationary member." Zara's heart leaped. This was huge. Earth had been considered too primitive for Alliance membership for centuries. Professor Xalax turned to Zara, his scales now a warm, encouraging gold. "Zara, as the catalyst for these events, we'd like you to be Earth's first official representative in this new exchange program. You'll work with the Council to establish the framework for Earth's integration into the galactic community." Zara stood, her mind reeling with the magnitude of what was being offered. She thought of her home, of the challenges Earth faced, and of the incredible opportunities this could bring. With a deep breath, she stepped forward. "I'm honored," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "On behalf of Earth, I accept this responsibility. We have much to learn, but I believe we also have much to offer. Together, we can push the boundaries of knowledge and understanding further than any one species could alone." As applause filled the Grand Hall, Zara realized that her adventure was only just beginning. The universe had opened up before her, full of endless possibilities and challenges. And she was ready to face them all, armed with the unique perspective of humanity and the collective wisdom of the stars. As the applause died down, The Galactic Council member who had spoken earlier approached Zara. Its shimmering form seemed to pulse with an inner light as it addressed her directly. "Young human," it said, its voice a melodious blend of tones that seemed to resonate within Zara's very being. "Your journey is about to take you far beyond the walls of this academy. Are you prepared for the challenges that lie ahead?" Zara straightened her posture, meeting the being's gaze with a mixture of determination and humility. "I'm ready to face whatever comes, and to learn from it," she replied. "But I know I won't be doing it alone. The strength of the Galactic Alliance lies in our diversity and cooperation." The council members' form rippled in what Zara interpreted as approval. "Wise words. Your first task will be to return to Earth as our emissary. You must prepare your people for the changes to come." Zara's eyes widened. Return to Earth. The thought both excited and terrified her. How would she explain everything she had experienced? How would Earth's governments react to the news of their probationary membership in the Galactic Alliance? Professor Xalax stepped forward, placing a comforting hand on Zara's shoulder. "Don't worry," he said, his scales a reassuring blue. "You won't be going alone. A team of Academy representatives will accompany you to help smooth the transition." Over the next few weeks, Zara worked tirelessly with the Council and Academy staff to prepare for the mission to Earth. She attended crash courses in galactic diplomacy, studied the protocols for first contact situations, even though Earth had technically already had contact, and worked on ways to explain advanced concepts to those who might be skeptical or fearful of alien influence. The day of departure arrived all too quickly. Zara stood in the Academy's main hangar, marveling at the sleek interstellar ship that would carry her and the delegation back to Earth. It was a far cry from the clunky shuttle that had brought her to the Academy years ago. As the team made final preparations, Crix approached Zara. The Orleans student seemed uncomfortable, his tendrils twisting nervously. "Zara," he began, I wanted to apologize. When you first came up with a solution to the Nexus core crisis, I dismissed you. I was wrong to underestimate you and your species." Zara smiled, touched by her friend's admission. "Thank you, Crix, but you don't need to apologize. We've all learned a lot about not underestimating each other, haven't we?" Crix's tendrils relaxed, and he nodded. "Indeed, and now you're going to teach that lesson to your entire planet. I almost envy you the adventure." "Well," Zara grinned, "maybe you can visit Earth someday. I'm sure there's plenty we could learn from each other." As they said their goodbyes, Professor Xalax approached. "It's time, Zara. Are you ready?" Taking a deep breath, Zara nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." As she boarded the ship with the rest of the delegation, Zara's mind raced with the possibilities ahead. She thought of her family, her old friends, the familiar sights and sounds of Earth that she hadn't experienced in years. How much had changed? How much had she changed? The ship's engines hummed to life, and Zara felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation as they lifted off. Through the viewport, she watched the Galactic Academy grow smaller, the place that had become her second home fading into the star-studded expanse of space. As they prepared for the jump to faster-than light travel, Zara silently vowed to do everything in her power to help Earth embrace its new role in the galactic community. The journey ahead would be challenging, but she was no longer the same person who had left Earth years ago. She was now a bridge between worlds, armed with knowledge, experience, and a network of allies from across the cosmos. With a brilliant flash of light, the ship disappeared into hyperspace, carrying Zara and her team towards Earth and the dawn of a new era for humanity.